Andrew Mack here with Trial Combat and MMA Island. Today I'm joined by Phil LoCigno, who's from Cage Science on September 23rd. Phil, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. This is the best I've ever felt, considering I'm actually technically dropping a weight class, but only 5 pounds. But woke up this morning at 145, which is usually what I fight at, and as you can see, I'm not sunken in.
So before we talk about the fight, we're going to talk about your background a bit. So how'd you get into martial arts?
Oh, it's a wild story. So growing up, I played football my whole life. That was what I did, and then dabbled into track and hockey, baseball, but football was just always my love. So from 3rd grade up until after high school, I was a football player, and then I was getting ready to play for Mount Ida, which is a D3 because, my grades weren't that great. But with that being said, I was getting ready to play for them, but I had to bump up my GPA. So the first semester, I was attending Bunker Hill Community College. And BU had a club team, a couple games here and there and playoffs, all that. And during that mini camp, I tore my ACL, and football was out of the picture. And me being, I just had to do something athletic. I was always an athlete. I picked up boxing right after. But because of some outside affairs and just commitment issues, I was in and out of the gym from like 22 up until 26, just 6 months in, 6 months off, because, I wanted to be young, party, and all the negative stuff. But then I was 27, and then I just got my heart broken, and I was like, you know what, screw all this. I started doing Muay Thai. And then, I really got my interest in there, and then hop into MMA. And during the pandemic, I just went all in, and I haven't stopped ever since.
So when you started Muay Thai, was that at your current gym?
No, it was actually at Boston Combat, right across the TD Garden. And while I was going there right before the pandemic, so from January to March before they shut down the world, I was like, I want to get into MMA because they said they had an MMA team. They're like, oh, no, you got to get invited. And I was talking to one of the kids there, and they're like, if you really want to learn MMA, you should go to Sit Your Tongue. So I was like, all right, word, I'll go over there. So I took like 2 jiu-jitsu classes and a Muay Thai class, and the world was like, yeah, stay home for 2 weeks, and we all know how that went. And then ever since then, when they opened up, I forget exactly when, I think like August or something like that, when certain rules and stuff like that, you got to wear a mask during workouts and stuff. I just hit the ground running. I haven't stopped since.
So how's your experience at Sit Your Tongue been?
Oh, unbelievable. It's a second home. I look forward to it every day. It's therapy for me. I highly encourage anyone who's suffering from anxiety or depression to get into martial arts, whatever it may be, whether it's Taekwondo, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. It really is the best stress reliever, in my opinion. It saved my life, essentially, because if I didn't have this, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest with you.
I'm with you there. I know the feeling. I've heard so many people talk about how martial arts has saved their life and such.
Well, it's better than any antidepressant, I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah. So, at my gym, there's been some stories going around about Sit Your Tongue, how it's a very hardcore gym, how the bell doesn't stop the round, how a tap stops the round. Is that all true?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, over the years, they kind of heal the brakes a little bit, but we definitely still get after. We just train smarter. Mm-hmm. We still train hard, though. Don't get it twisted. So how would you describe the atmosphere at that gym? I would describe it very family-oriented because of, the legendary crew, Mark Delagrati, and my coach, Andy Cote. Once they see that someone has potential or they take it serious, they give them attention right away. And even the people that just want to go in for a workout, you're still going to get attention, and you will learn not only how to defend yourself, but walk around with confidence and just overall be a better human being.
So after your last fight, you were talking about gym bullies, and you were saying that Sit Chung has no gym bullies. How do you guys weed out those type of people?
We just bully the bullies, and hopefully they never come back. They learn that lesson. But honestly, there's no, since I've been there hasn't been any gym bullies. We're all there to get technical work, get better as martial artists, and just get better as human beings as well. But yeah, we don't stand for that type of behavior, not whatsoever.
Good. So looking at your record right now, you're 2-3. Your 3 losses are all 3 to absolute killers. So is it discouraging to you to start your career with 2 losses?
No, because in my opinion, I think I'm 4-1 if you really watch the tape and dissect it. But who knows with these crazy scoring criteria, especially after the last card with
Yeah.
The last UFC we just saw with that crazy 10-8 in the 5th round. But no, it's not discouraging at all because after those, I learned a lesson each one. Like the Kasky fight, I got to learn how to wrestle and not be on my back. It doesn't matter if I'm out striking, because if I'm 3-minute rounds in amateur, if I'm on my back for 1:30, like I have to do something significant on the feet to sway the judges. The Danny Wahlberger fight, I learned never to underestimate your opponents based on looks, body types, all that, because that kid came to bring it in. He just brought out the dog in me and showed how much heart I really have and made me prove to myself that I belong in there. And the Danny Jefferson fight, I learned definitely do not stay on the cage, and he really upped my game. So I'll give a shout out to him. He really upped my game, made me really focus on the cage wrestling, which, as you saw in my last fight, that's now become a really important part of my arsenal.
So how good did it feel to get that first win against Anthony Rivera?
It felt good, but I hate to say it, but I kind of think they stopped it a little early. But it's amateur, so they don't want to, no one get brain damage and all that stuff. But as you can see, as soon as I started to get going, I posted down and I got 2 good ones. He was like, no. So yeah, I'm obviously happy I got my hand raised, but it is what it is.
And also looking at your record, I noticed you fought on Kitchen's 50 and 58, both the day-night doubleheaders. So how is it fighting on such big cards?
It's a privilege, honestly, and I actually really like fighting in the daytime because that's when our sparring is. It's in the afternoons from like 11 to 2. Obviously, we do a warm-up for like an hour, just like technical drilling. And then we actually get to going around like 1 o'clock. So that was nice to me. And like when I played football, all my best games were during the day. So I liked it, but obviously now I've been prepping to start peaking during the nighttime because my day job, I'm a union laborer, so I work from 6 to 3. Then immediately after, I'll go to the gym. I'll go to 2 gyms. I'll go to my fitness gym, and depending on what day, right after, like 5, 6 o'clock, it's either jiu-jitsu or sit your tongue. And then at that time, that's when I'm peaking. So everything is working out perfectly.
So moving on to your fight for this Saturday. How'd this fight come to be? What was going through your mind when you first got the call for the fight?
Oh, I had a big smile on my face because I know Xavier Cardona. He fought 2 of my teammates in the past, and watching tape on him before, he comes to bring it. So I'm definitely ready for him. Also, fun fact, I got offered him after the Rivera fight, but because it was my first win, prematurely, I got a little too heavy, and it was like a quick turnaround. It was like 3 weeks in. So, I regretfully so, I was like, you know what, nah, I'll just wait. And then a year later, I get the name again. I go, yes, let's do it.
So having that he fought 2 of your teammates, is this fight a little more personal for you?
Yes and no, because, it's never personal when you get in there. But at the same time, it is because I want to bring that win back to my gym and, make them proud. So, yeah.
So how much you knew about Xavier? I know, as I said, he's fought 2 of your teammates, but like how was like his fighting style and like his mentality? How much you knew about that?
I know as much as what you see on tape. I know he has a lot of heart. He's got a crazy chin, especially after that Antidomi fight. He took a clean head kick, couple clean punches he ran into, and he was still standing there, which honestly reminds me a lot of me because he fights with a lot of emotion and a lot of heart. So I admire him for that, and I look forward to the challenge.
So the fight being a catch weight 140, whose decision was that? Was that Cage Science? Was it one of yours?
Well, initially my plan for this year, because I'm talking to my coach, when I do turn pro very soon, hopefully, I'm really a 135er because now I've been really dialed in with my diet, getting my weight down. So like I walk around like, in the mid-low 50s. So, 145, not really much of a weight cut. I wanted to fight on the May card, do a catch weight at 140. Then the next one at a 135, see how my body adapts. So when I do jump pro and I do the 135 cut, how is it going to be? Because I'd rather have that mistake as an amateur if I miss weight, anything like that, because it goes on your record, you lose money out of it. But at this point, I'm very confident. If they told me tomorrow, like, hey, we're switching it to 135, all right, no problem. Because I just weighed myself today, and I'm barely 145.
So, I know you won your last fight. It was a very quick fight. But you seem like the type of person that learns from experiences, win or loss. So without revealing too much of your game plan, what's the biggest takeaway from that last win you had into going into this fight?
Definitely set things up more, be more cerebral in my attacks because, as you saw in that fight, as soon as that bell rang, I just ran across him. But that was somewhat strategic because he had 11 inches of reach on me, which is another reason why I think it's beneficial for me to drop down class because I'll actually be fighting guys with the same reach, same height, and I won't have to be one-dimensional where I have to keep taking these big guys down and just grinding them out, where now that I'm fighting someone my size, my reach, I'll be able to display a lot more of my real strength, which is my striking, because that was my first art, was boxing.
So what can the fans expect from this fight?
Fireworks. As soon as that bell rings, fireworks. And not just because of me, but because of my dance partner as well. I know he's coming to bring it, so I have to match his energy right off the rip. But also, the theme of this is to be careful, but also be confident.
So win, lose, or draw, what do you want the fans to think of you when you exit that cage on Saturday?
That this kid is goddamn good, and he should definitely be a pro very soon.
What's your timeline for going pro? I know you mentioned that you're going, or hopefully soon.
Well, it really all depends on my coach. He told me it all depends on how I behave during this fight and how it goes. So it's really up to him. But if it was for me, shit, I'd go pro tomorrow because I'm all in this lifestyle. I'm unfortunately, well, not really unfortunately, but I'm about to be 30 in November, so you only have such a short span to make it to the big show. So I would like to, go pro as quickly as possible because I honestly feel like working with 5 minutes would benefit me a lot more than just working with 3 minutes. Because when we do our MMA sparring, we do 5 minutes, and I do 5.5s like nothing. So obviously, 3.3s would be nothing for me too, but it's different though because it's constantly rushed, especially from my losses. If you get taken down, if you get pressed, you really don't have a lot of time to work. And mainly the elbows. I feel like I was made for elbows and the knee to the head in the clinch. Because I always find myself in both of those scenarios, and as an amateur, you can't do that. So it's only a matter of time where I turn pro, and I'll be a way better pro than I was as an amateur. So amateur is all about learning experience, but I'm constantly learning, and I feel like I've learned quite a lot from these last 5 fights going into my 6th amateur fight.
So what's your goal as a pro? Are you aiming to make it like UFC big league level?
Oh, of course. I think that's what any aspiring competitor dreams of, is whether it's UFC, Bellator, PFL, Ryzen. I think that's really it, right? And I just want to reach my full potential. So when I'm not able to do this, because this is a privilege that I get to do this, because obviously we all get old, our bodies break down. So this is a privilege. So I want to take advantage of that privilege as much as I can, and to however far I can take it.
Do you have any preference between those big promotions?
Whoever pays the most.
So not the UFC.
Well, you never know. But, I mean, if timing was right opponent, I got offered the contender, then yeah, of course.
So circling back to your decision losses that you believe that you won, can you talk a little bit more about those, especially as we said the Valentina Shevchenko 10-8. We've had a bunch of really weird decision scores in the past. Let's see, Calvin Cater's 4th round against
Josh Emmett.
Thank you. Another one was Dan Sabatello versus Rafael Stotts. It's just like...
it's insane. It's all over the place. No one can figure it out. But I just think they need to change the scoring criteria as far as like points. Like we can't copy boxing with just a 10-9 must system because there's so much going on as far as the grappling, the submission attempts, the stand-up, the damage. But to answer your question, if we're going to go on damage, go look at every one of my fights. But obviously, besides the Danny Jefferson, he clearly beat me. He shut me down. I couldn't get anything off. But the Wahlberger and the Kasky fight, you know, with all due respect, if you see their faces compared to mine, they're wearing a lot more damage than I was. Granted, yeah, I got caught in a couple submissions, but, you know, I defended them. They didn't finish me. And I understand in the scoring criteria, they lean towards finishing sequences. So, like that Danny Wahlberger fight, that second round where I had that big knockdown, and prematurely I blew my wad because I tried finishing him. And he caught me in a rear naked and a Russian down belly armbar, and I got out of both of them. So the whole time duration, I feel like it was even. That round could have been a draw. And I understand the first round, I really do feel like they scored that on composure because I got gas. My rehydration was the best, not to make any excuses. And then the Kasky fight, I clearly outlanded him significantly. And yeah, he took me down. He had a couple good ground and pounds, but even so, if you weigh out the strikes from standing up versus down bottom and the control, just damage in general, I feel like I won that fight.
So you believe the scoring criteria must be changed, right? How about the scoring
100%.
system itself? Like, you think about the 10-point must system.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how. I think we'd have to really sit down and, you know, really take a look at what's going on. But almost maybe something like the jiu-jitsu system where they do points, maybe add in half points. And I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, excuse my language, but I really do feel like they should do open scoring. And a lot of people think like, oh, no, it's going to be boring because the guy's going to be running around if he's up 2. But guys already do that now when they think they're winning. And then all of a sudden they look up and they're like, oh, I lost. But if I know I'm losing, like, you know, over the score, and I, like, out of the third round, like, oh, I think that's close. And then I look up, I'm like, oh, shit, I'm down. I got to win this round. I would come out guns blazing. And it's also the other person's job to make sure, you know, he stays safe. In my opinion, I just think it would make more for exciting fights.
So Tyson Chartier, the New England Cartel coach, promotes a new scoring system. Did you see that at all?
No, I did not.
So he proposes each round winner determined by a judge's majority, meaning at least 2 of the 3 judges score the round for you. Majority winner of the round gets 1 point, loser gets 0 or -1. Open scoring. Stall calls available when possible. Point deductions to deter fighters up on scorecards from coasting to the end. No must system. A truly close round can be a 0-0 round. Winners determined by whichever fighter gets more points. What do you think about that?
I like that a lot. Is that how they score that in Pride?
I'm not much familiar with Pride.
I know in one championship they score the fight as an entirety.
Yeah.
I'm also a fan of that as well, especially since those 2 losses that I had, I turned it up in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So obviously, as a biased answer, I'd like that too.
So we're going to talk about some of your favorites. If you want to just give the favorite, move on, you can do that. If you want to give a little bit of a story, you can do that as well.
I was dreading this because I really got to think.
Your favorite one of your fights?
My last one.
Your favorite fight to watch that's not yours?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I always make this example when people say, which MMA fight should I watch? And I always say it's so underrated. Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker. Because at that time, there was no crowd. You really heard the shots, the breathing. So I would say that one. That's a huge sleeper fight.
Absolutely. That was my pick for number 2 fight of the year for, what was it, 2020?
Yeah, it was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Your favorite regional fighter besides yourself and your teammates?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Pro or amateur?
Give one for both.
Amateur, Danny Jefferson. Pro, that's not my teammate, Don Shanis.
Your favorite big league fighter?
God damn, you come with these crazy hard questions. That's another tough one. Justin Gaethje.
Your favorite submission?
Either a rear naked choke or a guillotine.
Nice. Stick to the basics.
Yeah, that's it. Basics win fights.
Your favorite food to eat after the weigh-in, before the fight. So still a little bit healthy, but you can get more calories in now.
Steak.
How about after the fight? Anything you want.
Steak. That's exactly what I'm after too.
What's your favorite cut?
My favorite what?
Cut of steak.
I don't have one, but as long as it's bleeding, I'm good.
What's your favorite steakhouse then?
My favorite steakhouse would be Ruth Chris Steakhouse in Somerville, and if you're looking for to sponsor me, I'd be more than happy to.
One more question. If you could give a message to yourself right before your first amateur fight in November of 2021, what would that message be?
You were meant for this.
Awesome. Any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to my supporters, which is my family, my gym, my teammates, and myself.
All right. Good luck on Saturday, and we'll see you at Cage Sidings.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one.